Mike, thank you for responding to my meeting request so quickly. I received a disturbing email not too long ago from DCAA.
Okay.
They are requesting a virtual floor check of our employees, and I am confused. Can you help me to understand what exactly a floor check is?
Yes, there's a history there, and having been with DCAA for 30 years, Floorcheck has two basic objectives. It's just to, at a point in time, come in unannounced, interview some selected employees, and determine what they're working on at the time and what they're charging at the time, basically,
Okay.
so that the DCA can develop reliability on the labor records. And DCA views them as inherently risky because employment, not employment records, but any kind of time charging records, labor distribution, those are all internally generated, unlike accounts payable, that type of thing. So DCA says there's a risk there that's unique. And last but not least, there have certainly been some bad apples over the years who mischarged labor on government contracts. So it's all that plays into it.
Okay. Well, so what is the difference between a virtual floor check and a physical floor check?
It's all a function of COVID-19 and everything done by distance, including just their routine audits now are not in person. But floor checks, preference is to be in person where they can actually talk to the employee, and they can have the employee pull up things on a screen, and the auditor can be looking over their shoulder.
So validating that they're doing what they say they're doing.
Yes, and since most records are online nowadays, the key is having visibility into that computer, which is the same thing with virtual in that context. The auditor's not going to be in the room with the auditor.
Okay.
They're going to use some GoToMeeting or My Teams or some similar software, which they indicate, I think they need to test that, and by all means they need to test. But that's how they're going to visually see both the employee that they're floor checking and the employee's computer screen.
Okay, so virtual will be done all via video conference and or telephone?
And or telephone, yes. Telephone for those that don't have the video capability. And I think they spell out some steps in there that it gets a little unwieldy in either case, because DCAA indicated they're going to ask questions which they haven't given us and they won't give us ahead of time. And they're going to ask for documentation during the interviews, and they aren't going to tell us what they're going to ask for either, but they're going to expect very rapid turnaround both in responses and documents.
Okay. Okay. So DCAA laid out a number of procedures and or steps that they plan on taking in regards to this virtual floor check. Are there any concerns with the procedures that they have laid out? Do you need me to outline some of the procedures, or?
We should consider, I think they ask in these emails, these notifications, let them know if we collectively have any concerns with any of their procedures.
Okay.
Flip a coin as to doing that up front, and even if we do, I think it'd be very general, but there are aspects of it that I think we would not exactly agree to, such as they want a compliance person, a finance person to be there with the employee as they're being interviewed, but they don't want the government compliance person to answer any questions or interject at all.
Okay.
And that's the same in live floor checks, and I've always recommended to clients, we're not going to agree to that unless they give us up front the questions.
Right. And when you mean the government compliance person being there with the employee, being there on the video call, because obviously during this pandemic we can't be person to person necessarily.
Right, and that's one that is for you to decide, or us to decide, not DCAA. I mean, different options there. There would be an advantage to us if the compliance person and the employee being interviewed were in the same room at the same time. But then you think about, well, they're wanting 5 minutes, give us 5 minutes notification to get the employee. Well, that would also mean the compliance person is going to have to run around physically
Right.
to get wherever they need to be. The advantage is, if I'm an employee being interviewed, it'd be nice to have the compliance person sitting off here to the side giving me pointers. So, yeah, there's that. But I think just from logistics and everything else, it's going to be a three-way meeting type thing, all remote.
Understood. So, what exactly, Mike, do we need to do to prepare? We want to ensure that we have no problems going forward from a perspective of DCAA and a compliance perspective. So what is it that we need to do as a government contractor to prepare for a virtual floor check?
Something that I always recommend is whatever training that we've given employees, oftentimes it's annual. And it's simply that, it's annual business ethics and timekeeping and sort of the myriad. But in this case, because we have some sense that this is coming, we don't know when, perhaps obvious, we need to schedule training for everybody.
Okay, we can do that.
And reinforce our expectations and make sure we lay out a few, just let our employees know what's coming. And I always want to make sure the employees understand that they're randomly selected. This is not an investigation. Don't break out in perspiration
Okay.
and sweat it as if the FBI is interrogating them. That's not what this is about. So, and if you don't know the answer as an employee, don't wing it. Don't try to guess what the answer is.
To simply say you do
Say,
not know
I
the
do not
answer.
know the answer to that, but I do know who to ask.
Okay.
Is my simple answer to that. So.
That's good information. And Mike, one last question. What is our risk associated with not either complying with the requirement or the request for a virtual floor check, or not passing?
Not complying, and there could be a basis to say we're not going to even participate, and it gets into the access to records clause. That's a discussion for another day, but almost all contractors do participate, so we'd be the odd man out, so to speak. Yeah, the risk of failure, that's problematic, because it's not just the specific accounting charges, labor charges that may be at issue, it's the system itself. And they could hold our accounting system hostage, deemed inadequate based on just failing to follow procedures that are in our timekeeping policies. And I'll give you one quick example. It's a lot of employees, myself included, are notorious for not inputting their time daily.
Right.
And so that's one thing. Again, back to training, we want to make sure employees know this is what we do, so we minimize our risk.
Okay, wonderful. Mike, thank you for clarifying this situation for me. I really do want everyone in our organization to understand that this is important for us, and our objective is to be a cooperative contractor and be a compliant contractor in every way possible. And so I look forward to you giving us the training that we need, refreshing that training, and then for us to move forward in a cooperative manner. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Mike, thank you for coming in today. I wanted to follow up from a discussion that we had a few weeks ago regarding notification that DCA was planning on performing virtual floor checks at our organization. Well, I just received notification that DCA is starting the floor check process.
Okay.
In fact, I don't know the names of the employees that were selected for the floor check, but they indicated in this notification that each employee will receive within 5 minutes of the actual interview a notification for a meeting of some sort, a virtual meeting of some sort.
Okay.
So I wanted to give you notice and ask you what we need to do now that those interviews are going to start in the next 5 minutes.
Okay. One thing we don't really want to do is put an email blast out to all employees, say floor checks are coming, because DCA will ask that question. But at the very least, we want to make sure, and I will be participating in each of those individual floor checks as well. And so I need, if I'm not copied on an email, I just need to have the information as well so I can sign in. And then when they start, my role will be to introduce to our employee and let them know who DCAA is. Many of them don't know. And then I will be acting primarily as an observer. I want the employees to answer the questions. Okay. But every now and then, if a question's off the wall, I will interject as necessary. But again, the intent is to be an observer.
Well, I know we will do well through this floor check, and I appreciate all the effort you have put into our compliance environment. It is very strong here, and I have every confidence in you and our team as we go through this. But I ask that you would please brief me on the interviews that happened today once it is all over.
Okay, absolutely. And although highly unlikely, if anything comes up during any individual interview that you need to know of at that time, I'll let you know. But again, I think that's highly unlikely. I'll give you a rundown at the end. So.
Thank you, Mike. And one last question before you go, and I know we don't have a lot of time because they're going to start emailing our employees very quickly, but should I expect some sort of written report when this is over from DCAA, or would that only happen if for some reason there was an issue?
Actually, it's the latter. Typically, they don't issue a report unless there are issues.
Okay.
Otherwise, their policy, it's a memorandum for the record that just goes into their files, which is kind of like, they don't like putting reports out with good news. That's the way a lot of us read it. But no, they'll let us know if there are, if they think there are issues actually at the end of the day or shortly thereafter, they'll let us know.
Great.
So we'll know timely.
Great. Well, I look forward to that briefing. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, you're welcome. Well, everyone, wanted to welcome everybody to the go-to meeting. Adam, this is Mike Steen. I'm the Director of Compliance, and don't know whether you realize it or not, but you've been selected for a random DCAA floor check. So also on the go-to meeting, actually who initiated it was Charles Ellis, the auditor, and Charles will be asking you just a few questions about timekeeping basically. And as we've always told our employees, just be honest, but if you don't know the answer, don't answer, don't guess if you don't know the answer. And I am here just really as an observer. I really expect the auditor to be professional and give you above board questions. And with that said, why don't I turn it over to Charles?
Good afternoon, Adam. As Mike indicated, I'm going to go through a couple standard questions with you according to our floor check process. Could you go ahead and to get this started, confirm your name and show me your badge?
Yeah, my name is Adam Cole, and here's my badge. Hopefully you can see it.
Okay, can you tell me your job title and a little bit of description of
Sure.
what you do?
I'm an analyst 2, and I perform data analysis currently on the Warfighter project, which the job number is AZ2050.
And how many hours would you say you charge at any point in the day?
Since it's 3 o'clock and I've been working on it since about 8 this morning, today I'll be charging 7 hours to that project.
When you came on board with this company, did they have a timekeeping training process for you?
They did. They trained me when I was hired, and then we do it once a year.
Can you describe how you log into the timekeeping system?
Yeah, I log in using my password, which no one else knows.
Can you show me that real quick?
Sure. Let me pull up our timekeeping site for you here. So I put in my username, and then password, and there we go.
Great. When do you input that time?
I usually do it right before I go home or within the first 2 hours the next day.
And after that time is in, is there someone else that reviews it and approves it, or how does that process work?
Yeah, I review it at the end of each pay period, which for us is the end of the week, and then I send it off to my supervisor for further review.
And if there's an issue with your timesheet, something's wrong, can you tell me how that process works?
Yeah, it gets sent back to me, in which I make the corrections, and then I re-release a corrected timesheet to my supervisor so he can review once again.
I didn't see any hotline posters as I came in today. Can you tell me where those are located, if at all?
Yeah, they're posted on our company website for everyone to see, and they're also in the break room.
Do you or any other employee have any concerns with potential fraud going on?
No, I don't have any concerns with fraud right now. Our company takes business ethics very seriously here.
And lastly, is there anyone else that has access to input your time?
No, it's just me. I have the access to the password and I create it, and I'm the only one that controls it.
All right, well, thank you for your time today, Mike. I think that's all I have.
Well, thanks, Charles. Thanks, Adam. And Adam, just to let you know that the final step in the process for these floor checks are the DCAA auditor, whether Charles or another one, will confirm that the time that was actually charged once the labor distribution clears. So just be aware of that. But that's, again, just a formality to check it to the actual accounting records. And with that, again, thanks both of you for your time.
Thank you.
Wanted to welcome everybody to the webinar, the go-to meeting. I'm sorry, we're not doing a webinar. Go-to meeting. Jonas, I'm Mike Steen. I'm the Government Compliance Director.
Good to meet you.
Company. I think we've probably met in training, but at any rate, this is actually a DCAA virtual floor check. And on the other participant in the meeting, Adam Cole, he's the auditor. He's the one that just sent you an email letting you know that the virtual floor check was going to happen. So all I ask at this point is that you be responsive to his questions. If you don't know an answer, don't wing it, don't make it up. But otherwise, be professional and answer his questions if you would. And I thank you for your time.
Yep.
Go ahead, Adam.
All right, Jonas, first thing, could you please confirm your name and show your badge to the camera for me?
Sure.
All right, could you please confirm your name?
I'm sorry?
Could you please confirm your name?
It's on the badge. Jonas Clem, right there on the badge.
Thank you.
Not hard.
Now, could you please give me your job title and description of your job?
I'm an engineer.
What do you do as an engineer?
I do engineering things.
Okay. Have you received any timekeeping training?
Since I've been here, or this week, or
Any training at all?
I think we had some sort of training when I started.
Okay. How do you access your time card and put time in?
Online. It's what everyone does, right?
You just entered it online, you don't get it reviewed by anyone?
Yeah, my boss signs my timesheet every 2 weeks.
Are you aware of any hotline posters or any concerns for fraud?
Speed dial. Numbers on speed dial. Yeah.
All right.
I'm aware.
Are there any concerns that any other employee shares your passwords, misuses the company computer, falsifies timesheets, or cheats on travel expense vouchers?
Are you serious?
Was something funny about that?
Well, I mean, the guy down the hall works from home. Yeah. Tell me how that works out. And then Linda over here, she works from 10 to 2 every day. Somehow puts 40 hours on her timesheet every week. You do the math on that one. So, yeah, I mean, probably ought to dig a little deeper than, Engineer Jones here.
Adam, and this is Mike. I think maybe we need to talk briefly after this interview, and I'm hoping at this point that we're finished. Hopefully you don't have any more questions.
No, I don't have any more questions. I do agree we need to meet.
Okay. I want to thank you, Adam. Jonas, you're free to go back to work.